everyone, it's Shipra.
And it's Shivam, and we're back for the last leg of our honeymoon. We're here in Zambia. We actually just touched down at the Livingstone airport a couple hours ago. And we are now at the Radisson Blu, where we'll be staying for the next couple days before transiting over to Zimbabwe.
We have a lot of fun activities planned in this area over the next 5 days. So we're going to be starting off tonight with a sunset cruise on the Zambezi River. And then tomorrow we'll be checking out the Victoria Falls area. And then after that, we'll be going into Zimbabwe to go check out Victoria Falls from the Zimbabwe side. And we'll be able to go ziplining and also take a helicopter tour, which should be a lot of fun. And then finally, we'll also be going to Botswana for a day tour to go check out Chobe National Park.
Yeah, it's going to be a very packed itinerary, but still overall relaxing.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll get to see a lot of different things along the way.
And a lot of elephants.
Yes, elephants are the priority this time around. We're looking for big herds of elephants when we go to Chobe National Park.
So we'll start off with a quick room tour. We're staying in the riverfront villa here at the Radisson Blu Hotel. So come on in, I'll show you what we've got here. This is a nice spacious room for us. I am going to make sure that I shut the doors, however, because there are a lot of monkeys on this property and we need to make sure we don't let them in. Those monkeys are naughty, they're everywhere. So this is kind of like a suite concept. So we have a nice living area and then we got a nice little welcome snack. And then we've got a nice kitchen area, which I can guarantee that we will not be using. And then finally, we've got the bedroom, which is in a separate area. Nice bed with a mosquito net, although there aren't any mosquitoes here, so we should be fine. This is a nice balcony that we've got over here. I guess there's 2 balconies in this hotel, which is nice. There's one in the bedroom and one in the living area. And then we've got our nice bathroom. So we've got a tub here that overlooking the Zambezi River, then dual vanity, and then we've got our overhead shower here. So after coming to the hotel, we quickly got ready and now we're gonna check out the Zambezi River cruise.
We were pretty quick to board, so we got some prime seats at the front of the boat with some shade, which is important because it is really toasty out here.
And it's like 100 degrees.
But this river feeds into Victoria Falls. We're not gonna go to the falls because that'd be way down there and also kind of scary.
Then the boat would fall in.
Yeah, true. But what is interesting about these rides is that they provide food, drinks, but also the opportunity to potentially see some wildlife on the side of the river. So hopefully we'll keep our eyes open and potentially spot something.
We're gonna keep our eyes open for hippos and crocodiles.
Maybe elephants too.
Elephants, really?
Yeah. So there wasn't much information about this cruise online, but I think we're getting a little bit more than we bargained for, in a sense. So there were some appetizers available. They were okay. There wasn't many vegetarian options. There's a lot of desserts, but they were all gone like instantly. Hopefully they refill it. There's some drinks, but the main thing actually that's interesting is they're doing almost like a bit of a river safari at the same time as this dinner sunset cruise, because they're pointing out as we go down, like what are different birds, where are different animals living. Hopefully they'll point out some other interesting sights as we continue down the river.
This cruise is like the perfect way to spend an evening here in Zambia. We got nice music, we got good drinks, we got food. Not to mention that we're able to enjoy the sunset and also see so many different animals. So far we've seen a bunch of hippos popping their heads out of the water, we've seen giraffes, and we've also seen a crocodile. So I'm excited to see what else we're going to spot tonight.
So another interesting part about this river, the Zambezi River, is that it splits Zimbabwe and Zambia. So over to that direction is Zambia, and to that direction is Zimbabwe.
So we're just coming on some elephants that are actually crossing in the water. So our driver here for the boat is rushing over there so we can catch a glimpse of them. This is something that we haven't seen yet because we haven't really been around any bodies of water. So it should be interesting to see what they're doing in the water over there. This was a bucket list item that I didn't even know was on my bucket list. But I think elephants are even cuter when they're swimming in the water.
So earlier this morning, we had a bit of a late start. We were able to spend a lot of time sleeping in because we've lost a lot of sleep trying to go for safaris and various things throughout the days. But today we started our day by having a nice breakfast and then swimming in the pool just to relax and unwind. Now we've come to the Victoria Falls area on the Zambia side. So the Zambia side is known for having a couple famous bridges where you're able to walk close to the falls and get sprayed a lot, potentially. Let's see how much water throughput there is right now, because it is more of a drier season than other times of year. An interesting fact about Victoria Falls is that that's one of the largest falls in the entire world.
So what you can see behind me is the Victoria Falls Bridge. This bridge was constructed between 1904 and 1905. It was actually built with the vision of having a train that runs all the way from Cape Town to Egypt. Seems like that train never happened, but we still have a nice bridge here that actually connects Zambia and Zimbabwe. So this is the bridge that we'll actually be taking tomorrow when we go over to the Zimbabwe side of Victoria Falls.
So the fall itself is really cool in terms of a massive throughput of water, but I think on the Zambian side, it's a little bit underwhelming overall. I think during the dry season, there's just not as much water on this side as there is, you can see down that way on the Zimbabwean side. I think one weird thing is that in this park, for some reason, we're getting a lot of odd looks, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it because there are like tourists coming here, so I don't know why like people are looking at us funny. Like they're looking at us like we came from some different planet or something.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we're dressed slightly differently, but I don't know. Lots of odd looks.
So to cool off after that hot hike that we did at Victoria Falls, it wasn't really a hike, it was a walk, and I was drenched in sweat, which I don't sweat, so you know it's hot out here. I was craving a Puerto Rican pina colada, so in Africa. So I went to the bar and asked them if they could make one, and I was like, yeah, I think I could whip something up. So we saw him chopping up some fresh pineapples, so let's see how this tastes. Pretty good, actually.
Pina colada in Africa? Solid 8 out of 10. Better than some of the other ones we've had.
So now that we've stayed at a couple hotels in Africa, one thing that, we've come to realize is that, I think obviously Africa, there's a lot more focus on eating meat, which is pretty normal, I think. Like that, we see that across a lot of different countries. However, one thing we noticed here is that it's more of an issue at the larger hotels. So, for example, we're staying at the Radisson Blu, which is a pretty big chain. And if you look at their dine-in menu, there's hardly any vegetarian options. Versus some of the smaller, more boutique hotels we stayed in are interesting because they actually provide more of a 5 or 6 course meal. And then they'll ask you before you come what your dietary restrictions are and make sure that there's food something available. So in those places, I think we had a much better dining experience and the food was a lot better versus places like this. So today's a new day. We finally made it to Zimbabwe. This morning we started off just by heading to the pool and relaxing a bit. We didn't really have any other plans for this morning. So we did that, then we got ready around 12 o'clock and checked out. And the way we got to Zimbabwe was by crossing the land border. So once we got to the land border, it was a bit hectic. There's an office on the Zambia side where you have to go and get a stamp, and then after you cross the border, you have to go to Zimbabwe side, and you also have to get an additional Zimbabwe stamp. We actually had to get a double entry stamp because we're actually going to Botswana tomorrow, so we have to re-enter Zimbabwe tomorrow as well, so we have to get the double entry stamp. I would say it was quite the experience. It was very chaotic and very unorganized. It wasn't anything sketchy or scary, but I think it was just very disorganized. There was a ton of people, it was super hot. And then the immigration officer's pen stopped working. So he took our pen, and then when we were trying to leave, he was trying to keep our pen. I was like, no, that's my pen. Please give it back to me. It's the only pen I brought. So that was an experience, to say the least. But we made it, and now we've arrived at Pamarah Lodge, which is our last hotel, actually, in this trip. So let me give you a little bit of room tour. So this is a smaller hotel. I think there's only between 10 and 15 rooms here, and it's more of a smaller lodge, which should be a nice experience. So this is our room. We've got our bed here. One thing I noticed right off the bat when I came to this hotel was that it's pretty eco-friendly. We see everything in kind of stainless steel. They have water filters outside, and they've also they've given us kind of reusable water bottles, which is nice. That's something different from Zambia, where in other places there are just a lot of plastic usage. Then we've got a nice little tea station. We got our bed, standard amenities. The bathroom is really nice in this hotel. We've got a nice big tub, and we've also got a nice rainfall shower. So we're here at the Victoria Falls Hotel, and we're here to check out the high tea. This is a really nice building. It's kind of got that colonial architecture, British inspired, and this is going to be a nice high tea because it's overlooking the falls, and this will also be our first look at what the falls look like on the Zimbabwe side.
So we just got our teas. I got a chamomile just because it's caffeine free, and that was the only caffeine free option here.
Because you're a bore.
It's relatively nice, consistent with chamomile, but what I do like about this place is really the setting. It feels honestly like we are in India, In India, you can go up into the mountains and visit these hill stations and, feel like that British colonial vibe. And it's very much the same here. I think in terms of the robes the staff are wearing, as well as the looks of the building, it's almost like we've been transported back into the 1950s or 60s, back before the independence of these nations. So we just got our food for the high tea. So up top we have some desserts, which look really yummy. Below that we have some finger sandwiches. So we have like cucumbers and chickpeas. And then the last level is some scones. It's all looking really yummy, so it's time to dig in. We just wrapped up our high tea here at the Victoria Falls Hotel. And overall it was a good experience, right?
Yeah, I'm not really a big tea drinker, so I don't think that was like a major highlight for me. I tried the local tea, which I think is kind of like similar to an English breakfast, but a little less strong. So the highlight was definitely like the desserts and the finger sandwiches. I really liked the sandwiches, but it got a little sweet for me. But all the desserts, I tried all of them and they were all really good. Other than maybe the macaron. Macaron wasn't as good.
For me, I really liked the scones. I thought the scones were
yeah,
very, very good actually.
they were fresh.
They were definitely some of I would say overall the best scones I've had in my life.
That's because you haven't had scones made by me yet.
I haven't eaten that many scones, to be fair, but usually the ones I have are pretty
dry
and hard.
Yeah.
And these were very soft and sweet, and they tasted very good.
They honestly just tasted like biscuits though.
Yeah,
They didn't taste like an American scone. They were just like flavored biscuits.
So last night after our high tea, we had a dinner at our hotel. It was a 3-course meal. After many hotels with many courses and many restaurants with many courses, honestly, I was feeling stuffed. I couldn't eat even half of the meal overall because I was just feeling so full and so out of it in terms of we haven't been moving around a lot on this trip. We haven't been taking as many steps as we usually do because generally safaris are more of a driving tour, and then we've been doing a lot of tours which require less walking, so I felt very sick. But this morning I realized got to take it a little bit easy. So we had a much lighter breakfast and we hopped in a car, and we are currently at the Zimbabwe and Botswana border because we are heading out today to a day trip over to Chobe National Park. So Chobe is an area in Botswana which is known for a lot of elephants as well as water tours. So you're able to go on a boat and you're also able to do the safari in a traditional vehicle. I'm looking forward to it a lot. We actually took a route from Victoria Falls through Zimbabwe over to this border. So that route crosses directly through the middle of Zambezi National Park. We didn't really see too many animals on the way. We saw one elephant and some baboons on the street. Overall, it was a pretty smooth drive. It took about 45 minutes to get out here, and we'll see how long it takes to get to the other side. But one benefit, one positive today is that the Zimbabwe side of immigration was way smoother. They didn't even ask us a single question. There was no line. It was just a stamp and go. So we just wrapped up our tour of the Chobe River. And overall, it was a really incredible experience. We were able to see a lot of animals very up close, like alligators, hippos. We even saw a nice herd of elephants. It was very different from the other safaris that we did because it was, one, on the water, and two, it was extremely peaceful. I think we didn't have too many boats close to us. There was only a couple situations there was even one boat next to us. So everything was very private. We had also booked a small group tour, so there was only 4 people total watching the animals. I think it made for a very nice experience overall.
So we learned some interesting facts on this tour today. So it turns out that Botswana is actually a pretty developing nation. Turns out there's a lot of diamonds and gems that are found here, so there's a lot of kind of upper class living here. Some other stuff that we learned was about how there's a really, really large amount of national park area here. So there's 8 very large national parks that house all the wildlife here. And it's interesting, Botswana is a pretty peaceful state, so they don't have a lot of need to defend themselves. So their military is actually mostly devoted towards protecting the animals from poachers.
So after the tour wrapped up, we had a nice lunch here at the Cresta Moana Lodge. This was actually a place that we had seen previously when I was looking at all the different booking potentials for this trip. We were thinking of coming to Botswana as well for a more extended period of time. After this, we're gonna actually head out for the game drive portion of today. So we're going for 3 hours in a Jeep-like vehicle, and we're gonna go see some other animals potentially up close. So we just got picked up by our driver for the game drive today, and we just entered Chobe National Park. It's pretty interesting because I had booked a small group tour, but it turns out it's just private. It's just me and Shipra today. It's funny because when I was looking for trips to Chobe, every trip was saying that you can only get a group trip. And our hotel as well, when I'd asked them if they had any trips available, they said there's only such thing as a group trip to Chobe. So then I found something online that said small group. And we had a small group, I guess, in the morning, but those the people we were with had to go to the airport halfway through the tour. So now it's just us two in this entire jeep of 9 people.
So at the entrance of this park, we also found some bones of the different animals, which is kind of sad, but also just circle of life. So it looks like we've got buffalo, kudu, looks like maybe a hippo or a rhino here, and then more buffalo over there. So cool experience.
Last night, after coming back from Chobe National Park, we had a very light dinner, trying to keep in theme with trying to eat more light for the rest of this trip, just because we haven't been feeling too well.
Yeah.
This is definitely the longest trip we've taken together by far, over 2 weeks.
Yeah, I cannot eat out for this long. So I think one thing we realized on this trip is that I think the 10-day trip, 9 to 10-day trip kind of hits the sweet spot for us. And after that, it's a little bit uncomfortable in terms of continuing to eat out, because I think we're both very much so people of routine.
Yeah,
So.
But reflecting back on the trip itself yesterday to Botswana, I was very impressed. I think it was overall probably, I would argue, the best safari experience we've had on this trip so far. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so as well. I think the landscape is different in the sense that there's the Chobe River, and because of that, it's kind of a different setting to see the animals. One, you can see them inside the water, but then you can also see the animals that are on the land coming to drink water and kind of observe those behavior as well. We also got to see some elephants playing around in the mud, which was super cute.
Yeah, the large herd of elephants was definitely my favorite part, just seeing them do their normal thing. And there's so many babies this time.
Yeah.
Like, that was definitely what we were looking for.
It was very fulfilling.
Yeah, the elephants were cool. And then, I mean, there was an added treat of a lion.
Oh, yeah. Well, we saw two lions brothers. They were just sleeping, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's the one thing we didn't really get to see on this trip, is like lions walking around and stuff.
But we did get a lot closer yesterday than I think we have in like our previous sightings.
Yeah.
And the other fun part was seeing all those hippos.
Yes.
We had seen a few hippos up till now, but we hadn't seen such a big herd of them. And also we hadn't seen like just them all out of the water, just kind of walking around with their babies too. We hadn't seen a hippo baby either. So that was really impressive to see. I think it's a really cool environment because you've got that mix of the water and the land. And yeah, overall it was a really fun part of this trip so far.
The crocodiles were definitely the highlight for me. Getting like literally 2 feet away from them was a little scary, but also very cool.
Yeah, I was very scared of the crocodile. It was literally like just right there. I felt like, okay, it opens its eyes, it's gonna pounce on us or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, they said that they don't attack on land, so I guess it was okay. We're still here. But yeah, I found that to be the best part of the trip so far.
Yeah.
And today we are gonna be doing our last full day of activities here in Victoria Falls before heading back on our long journey home.
Yes.
Today we're going to be kicking off the morning with a canopy tour, which is basically ziplining around the Victoria Falls area. So hopefully we can get some good views on that. And then later today we're going to be taking a helicopter tour over the falls. So we can maybe finally see a larger throughput of water from an aerial view. I think the reviews for helicopters were saying it's a lot better of a view right now during dry season than it is on the ground.
Yeah.
So we just wrapped up our ziplining tour, and it was a lot of fun. You can see behind me is the Victoria Falls, and unfortunately there's not a lot of water right now, but nevertheless it's still a really great view, and we were able to see some of that with ziplining. And actually when I came here, the first thought I had is that this reminds me of something. And then Shimon brought up that this actually looks a lot like Horseshoe Bend. We actually went, I think, last year. So nice view.
The ziplining itself was actually very fun. There's a total of 9 lines, and we were able to go down all of them privately, actually. So the tour ended up just being me and Shipra. So it overall went by very quickly, probably about 25 to 30 minutes or so. But there were fantastic views all around, and it felt nice because we were actually kind of in the jungle aspect, just around the outside of the Victoria Falls Valley area. And I thought it was a lot of fun. Compared to some other zip lines, definitely not as intense or as quick, but the views were definitely very high up there. So we just got back from the helicopter tour, and overall it was a really fun experience, right, Shipra?
I enjoyed it a lot. I think the last time I went on a helicopter must have been over a decade ago, and was also to see waterfalls in Niagara Falls.
Yeah, I was only 6, I think, when I
Yeah.
last went on a helicopter to go see the volcanoes in Hawaii. This was definitely an interesting experience.
Yeah. Turns out that, I mean, right now is obviously the dry season, so there's not a lot of water. Although we did get to see some water on the Zambia side, which was nice because that was the first time I think we had seen some water in the falls.
Yeah.
And that was near like the Devil's Pool area, but it was really cool to see like the Zambezi River flowing into the falls. So that was really interesting. And then he was also saying that, you know, during the wet season when it starts raining, the falls get completely covered and it's like 1.7 kilometers of waterfall that you can see. However, he was also saying that from the helicopter it's actually kind of hard to see because of all the mist and it kind of creates like a cloud. So you're not able to see it that well from the helicopter. So I think, you know, probably the best time would be to come would be sometime like right at the intersection of dry and wet when there's been some rain but not so much rain that you can't actually see anything.
Probably like plus or minus 2 months from our trip right now, which is end of September.
Right, but I think for us it was still worthwhile to be able to see some
Yeah.
water in the falls, and also just I think just seeing it in general is pretty cool, seeing the cliffs and how they're twisting and turning and how the Zambezi flows into the cliffs.
Yeah, the cliffs are definitely very dramatic and you can see the water flowing down these like ravines off of it. So overall it was a good experience. So the helicopter ride was actually our last activity here in Southern Africa, and with that we're going to be wrapping up our trip here and actually our honeymoon as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be a pretty long journey to get back home. We have a flight tomorrow from here to Johannesburg, then Johannesburg to Qatar, Qatar back to San Francisco.
Yeah.
So it'll take a couple days basically to get home, but
Yeah.
overall it was well worth it. I had a really fun trip.
Yeah.
I hope Shipper had a fun trip too.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot of new experiences, being able to see animals in the wild. We've never been to Africa, so being able to check off a new continent and a couple of new countries as well, and just getting a lot of quality time together. It was a lot of fun.
It definitely took some time to plan this trip, and I had bounced a lot of ideas around. But overall, I think we got a good balance of being able to see things, being able to relax, and just kind of enjoy our time together as newlyweds.
Yeah.
Now it's time to head home and get back in the routine, get back to work. Yeah, definitely lots to be seen here. It's a very big continent, very diverse. You know, you got North Africa, South Africa, East, West. There's a lot here.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely be back. But we do have a few more trips already planned, upcoming. So we'll be heading out in a couple months for the next one, where we'll be going to India, and then I'll be on my own actually heading off to
Solo travel.
Yeah, off to Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore. So we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.